offices, one in Mumbai, one in Chennai. So my colleague Arti over there is based in the Chennai office, right? So if there's anything, you can always look for either her or me if you need to reach out to some of the company or employers in Singapore. A quick snapshot at the Singapore economy, right? For those of you who are not already familiar with it, we are a very small country. We're just an island, right? Probably not two-thirds the size of Bangalore city or even Mumbai itself, right? So it's very small. And therefore, we need to build a very knowledge-based economy, right? We need to have talent as our main skill set. We don't have any natural resources, right? Our population is only 5.5 million, 1/5 the size of Mumbai. And I don't know, what's the population of Bangalore? 15, 20 million? Yeah, so we're just 1/4 of that. Very, very small, right? That's why we are looking for people from India as well to supplement the growth of the economy, right? By hiring talent like yourselves. 4 main languages: English, Chinese, Malay, and Tamil. English is the main language for business, right? Of course, we are former British colony, just like India. So many of us speak good English, you know, proficiently. You can get around easily without getting lost. Everyone speaks good English. Chinese, because majority we are Chinese, right? About 60% of the population is Chinese. The natives are Malays, and Indians, of course, we have some migrants from the southern part of India, so that constitutes about 10% of the population. Right, we are 2.5 hours ahead of India, so it's 7:30 p.m. in Singapore now. Currency exchange rate, $1 is to 50 rupees. Okay. This is a quick overview of the Singapore economy for those of you who are interested. What's driving the economy essentially is I just want to ask you to take a look at the right-hand side of this pie chart. I think essentially what our government agencies are looking at are the manufacturing, which is this piece, the business services, as well as the finance and insurance part. So manufacturing has been a mainstay of our economy for many years right now. And then we are moving more towards the digital economy, right? Smart nations, IoT, that's where the need for analytics and cybersecurity comes in, and that's where it comes to the business services. So this is becoming bigger. As we move through the years, this part of the pie chart will become bigger, while this part will maintain or maybe shrink a little. Right, so you can see the focus is moving from the hardware to the software side in Singapore. So here are some of the key industries in Singapore that I'd like to highlight, and particular to the India market. Just very briefly, electronics, semiconductor is one of our key industries, for those of you who not know. We have some of the biggest IC design companies based in Singapore. And of course, Bangalore is also one of the Silicon Valley hubs in the world. So we also come here to engage lots of the IC designers as well. Manufacturing, right? The top 4 12-inch, or rather we are home to 4 of the 12-inch wafer fabs in the top 9 on the world. So that's also one of the key pillars for the electronics industry in Singapore, right? But more importantly, I think just want to highlight is where Singapore wants to become a big data hub in Asia. Not just in Southeast Asia, because as you know, Singapore is a stronghold in Southeast Asia, but we want to be a data hub in Asia Pacific, right? So that constitutes Japan, Korea. A lot of companies are setting up their data centers, their data hubs in Singapore. IBM just set up their blockchain innovation center in Singapore. Accenture has their innovation center in Singapore. So a lot of things are going on there. Government wants to add $1 billion Singapore dollars in value to the economy, and through that we want to train up analytics professionals, and these referring to people who are based in Singapore, whether they are new students or whether they are experienced people. And that's where, you know, I had quite a few people coming to me today talking about training partnership in Singapore. This is where we can potentially explore this opportunity. You know, it's not a big number, but I would say that you will get the best of the cream of the crop from Southeast Asia, because a lot of these people would want to come from Southeast Asia to Singapore to work and at the same time upgrade themselves. You know, okay, they can just fly in from the neighboring countries to conduct training, right? Or rather take part in the training. The other area that we are looking to grow is the cybersecurity sector. So this somewhat comes hand in hand with data analytics, right? Because IoT, you know, you've got a lot of data, you also need to secure the data. So this area that the government is looking at as well to develop and to grow. So the key hiring roles in India are essentially your data analysts, data scientists, and your cybersecurity professionals, right? So I'll elaborate a little bit more on that in the later slides. Just for quick info, engineering is also one of the key areas. We built the Rolls-Royce fan blades for your jet engines in Singapore. So manufactured and made in Singapore, right? Yep, so this is the important part for most of you guys here, analytics ecosystem, right? Essentially, we have quite a number of companies. This list is not exhaustive, there are more, but I just selected these companies because they are our partner companies. These are all the MNCs, and as I mentioned earlier, we only partner companies with a revenue of more than $100 million or more, so they are big companies, right? So I think it cuts across many different sectors in analytics. Your platform and tool providers, many of them set up research and innovation labs here, likes of SAP, right, SAS. Service providers, as I mentioned earlier, some of your big four companies, Accenture, IBM, right? They are the ones who provide a lot of Asia-Pacific solutions. So it could be helping to solve a problem from a company in, let's say, Indonesia. So they actually provide, they are actually run out of Singapore. The product and solution development is actually done out of Singapore. And they advise clients from around the region. So what I can say is that if you were to get a job in Singapore, if you were to work in a role in Singapore, your regional exposure to countries in the region will actually benefit you greatly because, I mean, if you are doing a job in India, most likely you are doing it for a domestic market, which is very India-centric. But over in Singapore, you're looking at Japan, Korea, Southeast Asia, China. So it actually adds to your resume and it helps you to grow as a talent. And a lot of people actually take Singapore as one of your stepping stones to move on to the US or even Europe. We also have a good group of end user firms, right? So we're talking about your different domain users, your payment, like Visa, MasterCard have actually their R&D labs here as well. So they're looking at payment analytics, customer consumer base marketing analytics, and so on and so forth. As well as some of the other companies like Symantec, they also do a bit of security analytics over in Singapore, right? So good range of companies. There's even more. I'll share with you a little bit more how you can find out about these companies later on in my presentation. So the Accenture Analytics Innovation Center, right, is actually the first in the region, and by region I mean Asia Pacific. One of their previous heads, Manik Bhandari, used to be from India. He headed up the Accenture innovation team. He's been there for almost 3-4 years, right? He built up a very good reputation as being one of the prime captures from India and rose up and eventually headed a team, right? So our hope is that for one of you sitting here, one day you'll be like Manik, heading up a team in Singapore like that. Right? He has since moved on to another company, but I thought I did share about what he said previously, about Singapore. Essentially, the country is very well organized, efficient, and we know what policymakers like the government and public services are looking for. So you not just do a lot of company to company B2B partnership. We're also looking at B2G partnership with governments as well because they run a lot of projects with government, Accenture. They are looking to build the innovation centers, looking at solar power cells as well as what's the term for it? The smart grid system in Singapore. How to efficiently power the smart grid system, how to make it better through the use of analytics, and that's actually a government project. So Accenture is running it for the Singapore government, right? And so that's what he really means, right? So I do encourage you to think of yourself as one day hoping being in his shoes, and I hope that for every one of you, right? Okay, a bit of the softer aspects of Singapore, but actually before that, let me just highlight this key slide, which probably most of you will be interested in. The employment pass is what you need to get to start work in Singapore, right? And I'm going to share with you some of the minimum criteria that you require, right? Essentially, you need to qualify, you need to earn a salary of 3,300 Singapore dollars a month. That is about 150,000 rupees a month, and that's the salary you will draw in Singapore, right? Then, if once you qualify for that, actually the thing is, if you have experience of 5 years or more, which is essentially the range that we are looking at, you would surely be able to qualify for an EP, because easily if you have 5 years of experience, you should be getting about 5,000 Singapore dollars or more, right, depending on which company you work for, right? So if you are looking to bring your spouse or your children on a dependence pass, then you need to earn 5,000 Singapore dollars a month, so that's 250,000. So this means you will get an EP, and you also get a dependence pass for your children or your spouse, right? So you can bring your family over. Then if you are looking for to sponsor even the stay of your parents, of course you need to meet an even higher salary grade, which is 10,000 Singapore dollars, which is how much? 5 lakh rupees a month, right? So you can actually check out the information here. Next year, there actually be an increase in the minimum limit, but that will start from next year onwards. So this is accurate as of today. The new start date will be 1st of January. I think this will be 3,500 per month. So I don't think it will affect you guys because you probably are quite experienced, right? One way to gauge whether you can get an employment pass, because salary is not just the only criteria. It's one of the many criteria. They will also do background checks, security checks, see if you have been involved in any, funky organizations with, in terrorist groups. But I'm sure most of you don't look like terrorists to me, so I think you'll be able to pass that. And the thing is, it's a black box. We don't know, even though we represent the government, we don't know exactly what is the full criteria. But you can actually get a good gauge of whether you qualify through going onto this online assessment tool.